It was supposed to be just another quiet evening. The rain tapped against the window, soft and rhythmic, as if whispering secrets only lovers could understand. Inside the dimly lit room, the air felt still, not heavy, but full of everything unsaid. Nina sat on the edge of the bed, her fingers nervously tracing patterns on the blanket. She could hear the faint hum of the old ceiling fan and the low murmur of a love song playing from a speaker in the corner. Every sound seemed to echo through the room, every breath, every heartbeat. Across from her, Arya stood by the window. Her silhouette glowed softly in the moonlight, her reflection mixing with the tiny raindrops on the glass. She wasn't looking outside anymore. She was watching Nina quietly, carefully, as if she were trying to memorize every detail of this very moment. They had known each other for years, best friends, roommates, confidants. They had seen each other through countless heartbreaks, shared endless laughter, and cheered each other on through every dream. But lately, something had shifted between them. A silent current had begun to flow, pulling them closer with an invisible force. Every shared glance felt deeper, every casual touch lingered just a second longer. And now, in the profound silence of this room, there was nowhere left to hide from it. "Arya," Nina began, her voice trembling just enough to betray the storm of nerves inside her. Arya turned from the window, her eyes soft but searching, as if trying to read the words Nina couldn't yet speak. "Yeah." Nina swallowed hard, her gaze falling to her own hands, which were now tightly clasped in her lap. "Do you ever feel like we've been pretending?" Arya took a slow, deliberate step forward, the floorboards creaking softly beneath her feet. "Pretending what?" Nina finally lifted her gaze, locking eyes with Arya, her heart pounding against her ribs. "That this," she said, gesturing to the space between them, "the years of shared history, the palpable tension in the air, is just friendship." For a single, suspended heartbeat, the room went utterly silent. Even the rain outside seemed to pause, holding its breath. Surprise flickered across Arya's face, quickly followed by a wave of something else, something softer, recognition. Then, she smiled, a small, honest smile that reached her eyes. "I stopped pretending a long time ago." Nina felt something in her chest crack open, a feeling of relief so overwhelming it was almost painful. She stood up from the bed, taking a hesitant step closer, her breath shallow. The space between them felt electric. "Then why didn't you say anything?" "I didn't want to lose you," Arya whispered, her voice barely audible over the returning patter of the rain. "I was so afraid that if I said it, I would lose my best friend. But I've wanted this. I've wanted you for so long." The remaining space between them vanished. Nina's hand reached out, trembling slightly, and brushed against Arya's cheek. The warmth of her skin, the soft exhale of her breath, it was all too real, more real than anything she had ever felt. "Are you sure?" Nina asked quietly, needing to hear it one last time, needing the reassurance to ground her. Arya didn't answer with words. She leaned in slowly, gracefully, giving Nina all the time in the world to pull away if she wanted to. But Nina didn't. She couldn't. Her eyes fluttered closed as their lips met. It was soft and cautious at first, a gentle question. Then, as certainty bloomed, it became deeper, fuller. It was like taking a breath after holding it for years. The kiss was tender and trembling, filled with every word they'd never dared to say, every secret glance, every moment of unspoken longing. Their fingers found each other and intertwined, their hearts racing in a frantic, beautiful rhythm. The world outside, with its rain and its worries, simply melted away. There was only the room, the soft music, and them. When they finally pulled apart, they stayed close, foreheads touching, their breaths mingling in the small space between them. Nina let out a soft laugh, the sound catching in her throat as tears of pure happiness gathered at the corners of her eyes. "I can't believe this is real." Arya smiled, her thumb gently brushing a stray strand of hair behind Nina's ear. "It's always been real," she said, her voice warm and steady. "We just needed to stop running from it." They sat together on the bed, wrapped in a silence that was no longer awkward or heavy, but comforting, like a warm blanket. It was a silence that held a promise. The rain continued to fall, a gentle soundtrack to their new beginning, but inside, everything felt warm and bright. Nina leaned her head on Arya's shoulder, a sense of peace settling over her for the first time in what felt like forever. "So what now?" she murmured, the question filled with a hopeful curiosity. Arya kissed the top of her head, a gesture that was both familiar and brand new. "Now," she whispered, "we start again." But this time, for real. The night stretched on, peaceful and glowing. They talked quietly, rediscovering each other, not as friends, but as something more. They laughed, held hands, and shared stories they'd somehow never told before. Every moment felt like the beginning of something new, something precious, something they both so deeply deserved. As dawn began to break, soft, golden light spilled into the room, touching their faces and illuminating the love that was now, finally, out in the open. And in that gentle light, they kissed again. It was slower this time, certain and full of a profound, unshakable love. Because sometimes, the most beautiful love stories aren't found in grand gestures or crowded city streets. Sometimes, they begin in quiet rooms, between two souls who finally find the courage to say what has been in their hearts all along. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories about love in all its beautiful forms. We'll see you next time.